You're listening to Wycombe Sound, online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM.
A very good evening to you. Welcome along to the Wycombe Wanderers Show. Bob Johnston with you at 7 minutes. And sitting across the other side of the desk from me, it's Colin Besley.
A very good evening to you. Very much looking forward to this week's programme.
And coming up tonight, it's a bit of an old boys special, so we will be hearing from Simon Garner.
Also, former Wycombe Wanderers captain Glyn Creaser's on the show.
We will be chatting to Dave Ward, who is the manager of Wycombe Wanderers Ladies.
We'll also hear from Gareth Ainsworth as well, the current Wycombe Wanderers manager. You may be aware of his position in the club. And we will be hearing from Alex Samuel as well, going back to his old club, or he's facing his old club this coming weekend, Swansea City. That's all to come between now and 8 o'clock. So I went along to Blackburn. How was your journey?
It was all right, actually. I did okay. Managed to get there and didn't go to Blackpool. That was good, wasn't it? I was slightly worried. When I saw the sign that said Blackpool, there was a little judder in the car, and I thought, no, just keep going, Blackburn, and I managed to get there.
Must be really nice turning up at Ainsworth Park as well.
It was lovely, yes. And they do have the replica Premier League trophy as you're going up the stairs there. So they have that. They have the League Cup that they won, and they have a special trophy that they got for winning the FA Cup 3 times in a row.
Wow,
I know. And the Premier League trophy, apparently, if you win the Premier League, you don't just get given the trophy, you actually have to buy it. So it costs them 24 grand to get the replica Premier League trophy. And
really?
I made exactly the face that you have just made.
For radio.
Really?
I thought, face.
You go to all of
£24,000?
£24,000. You go to all of that hassle of winning the Premier League, and then you have to spend out 24k to get the replica Premier League trophy.
Oh.
Yeah.
There'll be sort of, treasurers at clubs now going, we're not going to do it.
Well, exactly. You think,
it's too expensive for us.
Did Leicester do that? There's a smaller club winning it. Possibly thought, well, no, don't fancy that.
Frightening, but a good day out, though, apart from the result.
It was a very good day out, yes. And speaking of Blackburn, Phil Catchpole has been catching up with Simon Garner. He spoke to him the morning after the Blackburn game, and first of all, asked what he thought about the scoreline.
I was disappointed it went to 5. I felt sorry for Gareth and the team. The job he's doing at that football club is unbelievable. And that's the club he started at. I think he started there as an apprentice when I was there playing there. So that was a shame for Gareth yesterday. I felt sorry for him.
Yeah, we talked about Gareth's time as a trainee. He got released on his 18th birthday, but he was saying in the build-up, we interviewed him about Blackburn, he said he remembered sitting on your knee as a young boy, as a Blackburn fan.
Well, I'm too old to remember that one.
We got to talk about Blackburn, all-time record goal scorer. As I got to Ainsworth Park yesterday, I saw Alan Shearer away, and I did think to myself, that really should be called Simon Garner Way, really, shouldn't it?
Well, I think so, but I do have a road somewhere in Blackburn named after me, but I don't think it's near the ground.
Well, next time I'm up there, I shall go and find that and take a picture for you. Burnley, I remember Burnley playing Wycombe Wanderers. I think you were injured and they brought you out on the pitch to do the draw at half-time, and I don't think it went down too well. Tell us a bit about your love for Burnley, Simon.
I wouldn't call it love. I mean, Blackburn and Burnley don't get on at all. They've always had a rivalry, and it was funny that day because I said to the groundsman then, Jim Gardner, I said, don't go in at half-time, Jim. Watch what happens here. So I came out at half-time to do the draw, and I thought the Burnley fans was going to invade the pitch. They didn't I always used to score against them.
I've got on my notes here, you took a penalty at Ainsworth Park against Burnley and they were throwing bricks at you, is that right?
That's right, yes. There was. It was the old ground then, and there's pulling bricks off the back of the stand, throwing them on the pitch.
I mean, that's a hell of a compliment as a striker, isn't it?
Oh, it was great, and especially it was even better when I scored it.
Did you have to go off the pitch and then they had to sort of calm everybody down and then come on? I mean, you talk about a gap waiting to take a penalty. I mean, you've got to hold your nerve for a little bit of time there, haven't you?
Yeah, you have to take your time. I mean, I wasn't very good at penalties neither. I didn't like taking them. But when it was against Burnley, I thought, no, I'm taking these. And it took a bit of time, but I just decided where I was going to put it and just smacked it and went in.
There's a couple of things of folklore here with Burnley as well. Did you have a knife pulled on you by someone asking if you were Simon Garner?
I did. After the game at Burnley, I came out and I'd scored a winner, I think it was. And there was a Burnley fan when I came out, the players entrance, and he had a knife with him, and he said, "Are you Simon Garner?" I said, "No, he'll be out in a minute." And I think that's the fastest I've run all game.
Incredible. And this is my favourite one. Apparently when Burnley lost in the playoffs to Torquay, there was a plane flown over the ground saying "Forever in Rover's shadow" or something to that effect. And the rumour is that you were involved in that. You weren't flying it, were you?
I wasn't flying it, and I wasn't involved. I got a lot of stick about that, I did. And I got the blame for it, but I can honestly say I wasn't involved.
OK, I believe you. Right, let's move on to Wycombe Wanderers. Wycombe fans first saw you at Adams Park when you played for West Brom in that amazing 2-2 cup draw. I think it was on the TV as well that day. It was a great game, but it was the first time I'd seen you on the terrace as well as a fan, and I remember thinking, this guy can play a bit. That was a great cup tie, wasn't it? And the replay was pretty good too.
It was. I mean, the first game was great down at Adams Park. It was a really good game. And Wycombe surprised us. We didn't think they'd be that good, and there was a good side then. And I thought, oh, this is going to be a tough day today. And I didn't play in the replay, I don't think. I think I was injured in the replay. I'm not sure now. But we only just scraped through as well in the replay.
Yeah, it was 1-0, I think. And
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, Wycombe gave a good account of themselves. So, fast forward a bit, then after that game, when you found out that Wycombe were interested, then you must have been pretty excited to go and play for Martin O'Neill. Oh,
too right I was. I mean, I'd spoken to Martin. It took quite a while to get it done, actually. I mean, I've been frozen out at West Brom. The manager didn't want me there. Martin came in for me. And it took about 8 or 9 weeks to get the deal done. I mean, everything was sorted out deal-wise. It was just Martin just dragged his feet a bit. And I was phoning him up nearly every day saying, when am I getting these papers signed? I want to get down there. But once I got down there, I mean, he was a brilliant manager. And the players, the squad we had a great bunch of players. I mean, they come from part-time football into full-time football. And they was loving every minute of it. And it was just a great atmosphere in the dressing room.
Yeah, I remember being a fan and thinking, well, Wycombe are just unstoppable. First this season in the league, and we thought, well, we could have a chance of going up here. And, of course, we did. You signed in the February, I think, wasn't it, of that season?
Yeah, it was, yes. It was, yeah.
And you got some vital goals up there. But that playoff campaign was wonderful. And, your fingerprints are all over that playoff campaign, the semi-final and the final. I remember the Carlisle game, I think the fans tried to invade the pitch then when you scored, didn't they?
I think they did as well, yeah. I think they did. I mean, I'll never forget them semi-finals and the final. They were 3 of the games I really enjoyed playing in during my career. I mean, they'll be in the top half a dozen games that I've played in throughout my career, so I really enjoyed them.
The Wembley game, I remember you scored a goal that was disallowed. In my memory, you were on the halfway line.
I was in my own half because I was so tired. I couldn't run anymore. I thought, no, I'm just going to hit this. And I knew I was in my own half. And if it had been VAR, I think that would have been given.
I remember you got booked for that. And even as a young lad, I thought that's got to be one of the cruelest things in the modern game, surely. Yeah. I mean, you got booked for what I thought was an amazing piece of skill.
I know, and I did have a few harsh words to say to the referee, I must admit. He was perhaps valid in giving me a yellow card for that.
Well, that game, Dave Carroll scored the goal that we all talk about, that amazing dribble. But a lot of Wycombe fans think the best goal was Dave Carroll's first one, and I think you've got the assist for that, an amazing bit of vision. Wycombe played some good stuff that day.
We played great stuff. I mean, it was funny because John Beck, their manager, Preston manager, wanted to sign me, and I wouldn't go. I had the choice of Preston or Wycombe, and I picked Wycombe straight away because John Beck had a reputation in them days for playing the long ball game from when he was at Cambridge, and I knew it wouldn't suit me. So it was more pleasing that it was against John Beck as well, in a way.
And Gareth Ainsworth, who you're his hero, he was on the pitch for Preston that day too.
He was, wasn't he? He was, yeah. I mean, funnily enough, somebody sent me a photo about a month ago of me celebrating the goal, and just behind me, he stood David Moyes. He was supposed to be marking me. That made me laugh.
Yeah, he doesn't look too happy. I saw him on Match Today last night. He wasn't too happy then either. So he's definitely were different times, weren't they, to where we are today? Oh,
definitely.
Do you think it's better back then? I think a lot of our Wycombe fans might think it was.
I think it was in a way. I think the players were closer to the fans in them days. At Wycombe's level, although they're in the Championship now, there'll be a big change again. It's the higher the level you go, the more it's more money orientated, and it's about making money nowadays, and that's part of the game that I don't like.
Wycombe are really seeing that now. I think they're the smallest budget in the Championship by about 10 million. They're 10
I'd have thought so as well. Yeah, I'd have thought so. It's going to be tough, but if they can keep Gareth there and keep faith in him, because they're not going to win loads of games this season, but they're going to win games, and if they can get a little run together, they'll be all right.
That's Phil Catchpole speaking to Simon Garner. Many thanks, as always, to Phil for allowing us to play his interviews from Ringing the Blues. Ringing the Blues is available from all good podcast providers.
And you can hear that full chat online as well. Well worth a listen. Brilliant how he talks about his partnership with Cyril Regis. Great how he spends a lot of time in the hourglass post-games. Sometimes pre-match as well, in back in the day.
Yes, there is a lot more. If you are a big Simon Garner fan, then yes, definitely do check out Ringing the Blues.
I think as well, when we started doing the show, we were sort of planning about what we'd like to have on it, and I think speaking to former players and hearing from former players was well up there, because it's really nice, isn't it, to know A, kind of what they're doing now, B, their sort of recollections from their day when they were wearing the famous Sky and Navy quarters, or if it was before colour, dark and light grey.
I think that's so true, because you can then picture, where you were, where they were, at those crucial moments. And again, I know that's why you're excited to be speaking to Crease.
Absolutely, yes. Glyn Creaser coming up very soon as well, who was the captain of the team. He was in the side for 7 years. He was captain of the side that got to the Football League from the conference. He went from part-time to full-time, Lokes Park to Adams Park, won the FA Trophy several times, once when he was injured, and played in the playoff final as well, the 94, which Gareth played in, and David Moyes as well was playing for Preston that day as well. So yeah, fantastic to speak with him. And big thanks to JDT and Alan Hutchinson as well from the Ex-Players Association, who do great work in sort of keeping players from all different eras in touch, whether they're from the 50s. I mean, people talk about the 57 final at Wembley, Bodger, Horseman, of course, and more recently, players from the 90s who, you remember going to watch and sort of the great cup runs, League Cup, FA Cup, and just... I think everyone's got their sort of favourite sort of times, haven't they, of watching Wycombe?
I mean, it's really fascinating hearing you describe what happens to Crease and going into sort of like the 90s, and the fact that he went from being part-time to being full-time. The rise reminds me of what's happening now, where, goodness me, a couple of years ago we were in League Two, now suddenly we're in the Championship. It must have been amazing, even for the players, to be playing part-time football,
It feels like a world away there, doesn't it?
Exactly, albeit, at quite a high level, but even so, being a part-time footballer, and then all of a sudden, actually, goodness me, you've gone up, and, you're playing in, was it Division 3 then? I'm trying to remember.
Yes.
That must just be unbelievable. And then, and then you're going to Wembley and, playoff final, just must be absolutely just mind-blowing to live through.
Yes, no, definitely, and so comparable with this crop, their achievement.
Yes, what's going on now? Okay, so we will be hearing from Crease very, very shortly, right here on Wycombe Sound.
Love music, love talk, love Wycombe Sound.
It's the Wycombe Wanderers Show with Bob Johnson and Colin Bezzy. Still to come, we will be chatting to Wycombe Wanderers latest manager Dave Ward. We'll hear from Gareth Ainsworth ahead of Saturday's game against Swansea City, and we'll also be hearing from Swansea City fan, who also, of course, happens to be Wycombe Wanderers' very own Alex Samuel.
But first, as we touched on a short time ago, the Wycombe Wanderers captain, who was with the club for 7 years, saw them up to the Football League from the conference. Glyn Creaser is speaking to us about how comparable the time of getting through to the Championship was with him leading the side to the Football League.
Every bit of success that the club has is comparable with anything. To be in the Championship now for the first time for, ever is pretty phenomenal. It's going to be different feelings. We were working hard to try and get out of the conference back in the day, and when we managed to actually eventually do that, we ended up playing what we went through into. I think we finished in fourth position, and Simon Garner always said, anybody that finishes in fourth has got enough points to get promoted. You shouldn't have to go through the playoffs system, but. He always felt very strongly about that, but we went through that process as well, and fortunately, we managed to win it. And Martin always used to say, he'll rule his selection if he gets it wrong, and he'll be vindicated if he gets it right. And all the times he went there, he was vindicated every time. So.
Coincidentally, we heard from Simon Garner in the show. Phil Catchpole spoke to him after the Blackburn game, and he was saying his favourite goal was against Preston.
Yeah, it was a very good goal. I mean, I've recently watched that on YouTube, and I mean, to be fair, all 4 goals were very good goals in terms of. I mean, Dave Carroll, the 2 he scored, and I mean the reverse pass from Garner as well. The assist that he had in that goal was brilliant. So I do reminisce a little bit when I'm sitting here. I think, I'm bored now. What can I do? I'll watch that game, and it's good. It's good. I didn't particularly appreciate their first goal or second, whichever one it was. I should have had somebody on the boys' toes at the near post for the throw-in, and didn't, and we paid the price. But it's gone now. We won the game. It's the most important thing.
It must have been great for yourself, obviously, to lead the club at Wembley as well, on more than one occasion too, of course. Yes,
indeed. Yeah, I managed to. Well, I didn't lead them out in '93, but certainly the boys threw me up the steps first to pick up the trophy. But yeah, I mean, I've been there obviously 3 times, and then I went back a 4th time when I went to Dagenham at the end of my career. Unfortunately, that result was slightly. Steve Thompson was playing in the Woking side that day, so played against Tomo that day. But no, yeah, it was. It was a strange time for me. '91 was particularly. I was going to say probably was stressful, to be fair. We won the second leg at Altrincham. Did really well, and I remember coming off the pitch. Going in the changing room and after the game, and sort of trying to remember what was going on and thinking about Westie's goal and stuff like that. And it was really odd. And then I came out of the tunnel on my own to walk obviously you're familiar with the old setup there, when you used to walk up the stairs and go behind the royal box into the main hall. And I walked through the doors where everybody was, sort of all the families and everything else, and just burst into tears. It was absolutely bizarre. I think it was more relief than anything else, but it was the most memorable day for me. And then again in '93, the lads pushed me up the stairs and said, "Come on, Creaser, go out there to get it." And then, of course, we won the playoff final and managed to get up there again. So, yeah, fantastic memories.
Such fantastic occasions as well. I remember going in '91, and people from school went, people from our road went. You'd see people at the station, see people at Wembley that you knew. It felt like the whole town went and was really behind the club.
I think it probably was. I mean, if there's any burglars around, then they've had a field day in Wycombe that day. I mean, I think we had excess of 25,000 people there. I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the support we had. And when you think the support we had back in those days, and obviously a lot of people that have been there that may have gone would have been neutrals, but we would get 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 at home games and stuff like that. But to have that amount of people actually support the club, and then of course we went out on the Sunday morning to a rapturous sort of town centre at the town hall. It was absolutely amazing. The amount of people that turned up for that morning was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I mean, there are so many great stories linked with Wycombe, but one of them, the best ones, must be the fact that at that time, obviously, you weren't even full-time players, and going from non-league up to the football league.
No, absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously, Martin had made his mind up, I think, or who he wanted to obviously offer contracts to, and so on and so forth. And I was in a position myself where I literally come back from having a really serious accident at work at the time, and went through the process of doing rehab, and the club were fantastic with me for that. And then I think he'd taken the chaps over to Henlow Grange, I think, for sort of a bit of a chill out day and what have you. And he invited me over and called me up and said, "I want to offer you a contract." So I was like, "Wow, that's amazing." So that was one of my schoolboy dreams, realised at the ripe old age of whatever it was then, 30 odd, 32, 33. So, and it took me about 3 or 4 seconds to say, yeah, thanks very much, yeah.
Must be some fantastic memories playing under Martin O'Neill as well, especially at that level.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mean, Martin was I'm going to say strange, but I don't mean it in a bad way. It was more a case of he trusted us. That's what it always felt like to me. He knew what we had, and he didn't over elaborate on what his expectations were from us as individuals. He knew what he had in terms of the squad, and he knew he could rely on us to go out there and do our best as individuals and ultimately as a team. You know, I don't know. It was weird. It was uncanny. He was a shrewd man, and he's obviously proved and gone off to other places like Leicester and Celtic, and you know, proved his worth at those levels as well. So, you know, it was a character for sure.
You must hear as well a lot of time people talking football, especially, and indeed the current team at Wycombe, people talking about, you know, how special a group of players are. But when you're in a club for 7 years, you must have just gone through several really good groups of players.
Yeah, the nucleus of it. To be fair, I mean, we had, you know, back in the early days, we had, you know, I mean, Cashy was there, Stuart Cash was there with us, and we had Jeff Cooper came in at left fullback. But the main core, like to Keith Ryans, Simon Stapleton, Steve Thompson's, Matty Crossley, Steve Guppy, Dave Carroll, Keith Scott, Mark West. You know, that was kind of the nucleus of the side in many respects for good, you know, 2 or 3 years, and then everything else came in around that. You know, he kind of filled slots, but yeah, the group of players that we had, Lee Turnbull is another one that springs to mind. You know, it's Dave Titterton. Yeah, we had a good core group of players in the changing room who got on really, really well. Would be there supporting each other and everything else, and then anybody that came in, the Martin had I don't know, it was uncanny really the way it sort of worked. He's called, will these people fit in with the group that I've got? And we to be fair, we never took any prisoners. If people didn't want to be part of it, then you know you quickly know who they were. And to be fair, we had very, very few that were like that. They came in, enjoyed it. We were winning, which is always a lot easier when you're winning. If you look at the amount of changes that Martin had made over the years, I mean, you know, Timmy Langford came in and everything else like that, and there were few and far between. There were periodic changes, but it was only ones and twos, and it could have been just through injuries and so on and so forth. So, but the group, all the lads I've seen go through Wycombe when I was there were all brilliant, absolutely brilliant, good characters. They got the crack, and I think they all enjoyed their time there in one way, shape or form.
You must be so pleased with what a solid unit you had, especially defensively, and yourself, obviously, a sort of no-nonsense, traditional central defender. Yeah. I was employed to head it and kick it, and that's what I did pretty much. And I had a knack of knowing how to defend, and then of course you had the likes of Matty Crossley, you had Andy Kerr at the time, and then later on, then Big Terry came in, Jason Cousins came in. To add those two to the party, you got a couple of hatchet men sort of thing, but both big characters, big players, and did what they did for the side. They did it for the team, for sure. Do you have particular favourite matches that really stand out?
Favourite matches? Scoring a goal against West Brom I always reflect on. Because Guts whipped a ball in, I think it was near post, and I managed to duck between the two centre-halves and get my head on it. And I just put my head on it. It was more a case of Guts' delivery was sublime, as you know. I mean, you'll know from watching him yourself. It's a fantastic ball in the box, and I managed to get on the end of it. And then Tomo equalising in the last few minutes when it was absolutely chucking it down the rain. That's one that always sticks with me. Obviously, winning in '91 at Wembley was something else, and being able to walk out on the, as they call it, the hallowed turf, and be the skipper on the day as well. And then you get to meet people like Ray Clements was there on the day that day, and then actually one that does stick out in my mind, and it was with Dagenham, and I make no apologies for saying that, but when I went there with them. Ted Hardy made me skipper for the day, and I managed to meet Pele and Gordon Banks. So wow. There you go. That was a nice surprise, and you can imagine some of the youngsters that were there. I mean, I was old then; I was about 38, 39, and some of the youngsters were there. When you got the likes of Pele and Gordon Banks walking down the line talking to you, it's a great day for them as well.
And people may not have been following, what you've been doing since. You were at Aylesbury for quite a length of time as coach and then as manager as well.
Yeah, I was over there with Tony Joyce, who a few of the old Wycombe supporters I know from Boreham Wood days and stuff like that. But I was over there with him, and then took over when he left. It didn't go as well as I would have liked it to have done, but it was a big commitment, and I give it a whirl. And to some extent, I did it partly because I wanted to have a go and see how I'd do, and I learned a few things about the job itself and myself, to be fair. But I'm still involved. I'm now involved up in Milton Keynes. We've got a club which is literally 5 minutes from me. I think I've walked to the ground a couple of times, which is something I've never ever been able to do in my football career. I've always been sort of 45, 50 miles away from everywhere I've played. So, walking down the road. So, and we've literally just been going sort of like 18 months. Obviously, we cut short the season last year. The season before, we had a full season. I'm down there doing some coaching with Terry Shreves, or it might be a name that people would recognise from back in the day. He was a decent striker. So we're down there, and it's going all right at the moment. We've not had the greatest of starts in terms of league. We lost our first league game, but we won the FA Vars game on Friday night over at Tame Rangers. So so still involved, still like being involved. I do miss that involvement if I'm not involved in football in any one way, shape or form. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's so great that you're still getting enjoyment out of the game.
Yeah, I do. It's nice to be able to sort of help people. Some people you can tell 10 times and they won't have a Scooby what you're talking about. But you just keep trying. And Terry's very keen to encourage youngsters coming through, like where we've got quite a few under 17, under 18 sides in Milton Keynes. We need somebody to be able to feed us, and we've just literally got a link with a coaching academy in Milton Keynes who want to put their sort of players that are developing quicker than some into a men's side, so they get used to playing in men's football. So it's a bit of an indoctrination for them, I guess, to see what it's like playing in men's football at step 6, which is fine because that's the place they should start. And see how they do. So, so we're looking forward to that. That won't be until next year now, but obviously it's too late to get them started now. But then that'll allow them to have the facility at the Milton Keynes Irish Centre in Milton Keynes at Manor Fields, an old ground which has been in Milton Keynes for donkey's years, an opportunity to get into the youth cups and stuff like that.
And with the current Wycombe side, you must be really excited to see how they get on in the Championship.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean the Blackburn game weren't the brightest one for them, and the first one was at Rotherham. They lost 1-0, and then they lost 4-2 in the cup. So, and I did say to. Actually, I was talking to somebody on another. I think it was Ollie Bayliss on another radio show that we were doing about Milton Keynes Irish Centre Football Club. And saying Gareth will learn a lot in the first 6 weeks of the season about what he needs to do and what he needs to get in if he thinks he does. So it's not been the best of starts, but it's early days.
So good to see them in the Championship, though. You couldn't have imagined, could you? When you got through to the Football League, you think, in a few years we'll be in the second tier of English football. Yeah,
and I think everybody would have been feeling in a similar way. The Beast, Akinfenwa made a good point about getting the group of players together that they had and how they went about their business. And he could see that he was one of the main characters in pulling them all together in the way that he did, and the way he sort of came across after the final. It was just so exciting for them, and they got exactly what they deserved on the day. I thought they managed the game really, really well, and for the best will in the world to try and play the way they tried to play and break through the lines of Wycombe on the night, they just couldn't do it, and they just showed so much character to get to the finishing line was phenomenal. The centre half had a fantastic game. Stuart, did absolutely brilliant. But yeah, it's great to see him up there, and I wish him all the longevity. If they can stay in that division this year, they'll be so much stronger for it. Obviously, and they'll learn so much as well. That not just Gareth, but the players as well.
And really reminiscent as well when Gareth says that he has these generals in the dressing room, the experienced players. A lot of the players that you listed that you play with, and obviously yourself included in that's something that you say was the real nucleus of the side, and that's really what led the team in your day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I think we had probably I say generals. I know what he means, and he's got players in the changing room. But I would, for me, being the elder statesman, if you like, of the group that I was playing with. It was great to have the youngsters around and just sort of like you feel like you're looking after them a little bit, but it's not that. You just want them to do well. You just you draw on something. And you have people that just lead naturally. And I used to try and do that by playing well myself. And if I got it right, I made everybody else's job a lot easier because the ball never went past as much as a back four. And that takes the pressure off of the likes of the keeper, either Heidi or John Granville or whoever. It takes the pressure off them as well. So, you always have people in the changing room that are going to bring something to the table, whether it's just through talking to people, physicality of the person. Just Terry Evans' presence was enough. You know what I mean? It's just as a man mountain, and sometimes that's just enough. You're going to be looked after. If you get my meaning.
Of course. It must be such a great sense of pride for yourself as well to have been at the club for 7 years and such a part of the club's history.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I'm still very much involved now. The ex-players association we've got. I've been chasing a few faces round this last couple of days, getting more numbers signed up for the ex-players association, which I know JDT and Hutch have been absolutely monumental in getting that off the ground and getting it to the place it's at now, and the functions that they've put on, and the dinners that we have, and the golf days, the bowling days, and everything else, and the committee. All the older. They won't thank me for this, but all the old people who are still involved with it, Sammy and Mr. Faulkner, and there's 8 or 9 of us, Susie, and it's just. We get together once a month when we can, and it's obviously been difficult, but the Ex-Players Association is really, really important. And I think I've tried to make this point before where we want to try and keep the players that are there now and those that have gone away now still involved, still signing up to be part of the Ex-Players Association to make it even bigger than what we've currently got it. And I think we're close to having for the first time ever, 110 members. Which is something pretty impressive in terms of an ex-players association, which a lot of places don't have, which just gives you some measure of an idea of how important a lot of the players that have been with Wycombe still see the club as important.
It's fantastic to have that history and that identity as well. I mean, we're speaking to you on the club's 133rd birthday today.
Yeah, there you go. And there's still people that want to be part of Wycombe, and long may it continue. I still think today Wycombe is very much rolled around a family club, and that's really, really important. It's important to the town, and it's important to the ex-players as well. The way some of the guys, a lot of the guys now still go and watch games every week at home and away, and that's absolutely brilliant that they still do that at the ripe old age of, I don't even know how Sammy is, but he won't thank me. I think Sammy's probably about 94 or something like that, but he's not telling us really, Keithy Samuels. But, they're great fun, they're great characters, and you can see why that they want to be part of it.
Because it's so interesting, isn't it, seeing in the national press, people really sort of taking to the Wycombe story, if you like.
Yeah. It's going to be a natural progression for it, isn't it? I mean, imagine it if they get through to the Premiership. Well,
we'll definitely get you on again for that.
We live and dream, and why not? Why not dream big? For God's sake, you only get one chance at life, and if Gareth, I'm sure, will be doing everything he can to keep that side in that division this year for sure, to consolidate. And then be able to know, or certainly learn from being involved at that level for a period of time what he's going to need to get them promoted. And when you think Wycombe a few years ago went through to the semi-final of the FA Cup, it's not beyond doable.
It's very exciting. It's been fantastic to speak to you. Thank you so much for your time.
It's an absolute pleasure, Colin. No problem.
Really great to speak to you, Glyn, and my thanks to JDT and also to Alan with the Ex-Players Association. And we'll have more former Wycombe Wanderers players on in the coming weeks as well.
That was really good and really interesting, and you could just see and just hear how thrilled you were to speak to him.
It was great.
It was great.
I said to him off air as well, when you consider I went to see, when I was at school, we used to pay £1 to get in, because I was under 16, that you'd go in and you'd watch, people like him and Steve Guppy and Keith Ryan and Jason Cousins and Dave Carroll and all those players that he mentioned as well, that you'd go and see them and you really felt like it was a story that you were following, and then to actually speak to him 25 years later is quite exciting.
Fantastic. Well, still to come on the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we will be speaking to Wycombe Wanderers ladies manager Dave Ward. We will also be hearing from Gareth Ainsworth and also Alex Samuel.
This is Wycombe Sound.
You're listening to the Wycombe Wanderers Show with myself, Bob Johnson, and Colin Besley.
Episode 3, this is.
It is, yes. The awkward third album or something. No, you said we weren't going to refer.
This is the best of.
We weren't going to refer to that. Still to come, we're going to hear from Gareth Ainsworth and Alex Samuel.
Got another televised game coming up this weekend.
We have indeed, yes.
On the telly again.
City, 12:30.
Sure.
Mainly because the floodlights. Well, one of the 3 floodlights are now up apparently, but the 4th floodlight, they're still working on that.
Good floodlight news.
Yes, I know.
Excellent floodlight update.
Live floodlight news.
Have you got any other behind the scenes updates you can bring?
No, I think it's only floodlights that I've got.
Have you got any other nuggets? Did you bring anything back from Blackburn?
No. I can't think that I bought anything back from COVID.
Did you try any?
From luckily not COVID.
Did you try any local produce? Lancashire hot pot, perhaps?
Again, you see, I very much, because of everything that was being said with regards to Lancashire being in lockdown, I did very much do it in a sort of almost car bubble thing of just thinking, right, okay, I'm not going to stop anywhere. I'm just going to go to the ground and then I'm going to come back and yes. So I think I went to the services were like Warwick both ways, and I didn't get out of the car from Warwick until Ewood Park and coming back.
In other behind-the-scenes news, have you told us off air, I think this is a nice story to share with the group, that you saw a Wycombe Wanderers player in a supermarket.
I did, yes. So on Monday, when I was getting my lunch from Sainsbury's, and Daryl Horgan was there.
Wow.
I know, it was very exciting.
That's showbiz.
Yes, I know. I did sort of try and catch his eye, but he was too
busy shopping.
He was too busy shopping. He's got young kids, and you know what that's like. If you've ever done that, if you are a parent and you've taken your kids shopping, that's always good.
Did you
fun.
peer into his trolley? You can tell a lot by what's in someone's trolley.
I didn't, but I did notice that one of his children was doing that thing of grabbing stuff as they went past and just putting it in the trolley.
Great news. Also, recently, over the weekend, Wycombe Wanderers ladies progressed to the first qualifying round of the FA Cup.
Hooray!
Yes, they had a fantastic win against Eversley in California.
They did indeed.
So they've progressed to the next round to play Comets, who I was talking to Dave Ward, their manager, about, and he was saying that they play their home games at St James's Park.
Ah, very nice.
No, Regent's Park.
Oh, okay.
Not St James's Park. Wrong park. But yes, that's coming up on the 4th of October. But it was brilliant to speak to him because he's been in charge for just over a year, and it was great to get his thoughts on how the team has progressed under his leadership.
Really impressed with the progress that we made on the pitch last season. Clearly, when I came in, the players had no real structured pre-season, no pre-season friendly preparation, and I came in 2 weeks before our first competitive game of the season, which was thankfully against lower league opposition that we won quite comfortably. But our pre-season ended up being probably the first 3 or 4 games of the season. In that time, we played Moneyfields, who were arguably the strongest team in the division, in the opening 2 games of the season. Needless to say, we lost both of those. But thereafter, we started seeing a real improvement in performances, brought in some new players during the season, and it culminated in securing a place in the Chairman's Cup final, which unfortunately didn't get played due to the lockdown restrictions. We played that game, I think it was the 17th of March, and then the following week we were in lockdown, so that's when the season became null and void. So very disappointing from that front, but fantastic to be back involved again this year. And obviously the ambition of the club is to try and reach the FA Women's National League set up, which is only 1 division away, it's 1 promotion away. And to that end, we've been working very hard on the recruitment front for the first team in particular, and brought in players with National League experience and Women's Super League experience in the case of one of our players. I like to think we've added an awful lot of strength and experience to the team that will help the players that were there last season to aspire to greater things.
One of the things that must have been so encouraging, having listened to some of your post-match comments from the games that obviously you did sort of oversee and did actually have, was how pleased you were with the development and the progress that the team have made in that time. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we've done an awful lot of work on how well we retain possession, how we do all of our restarts, particularly from goal kicks, or when the keeper's got the ball in her hands. We use midfield rotations. We're looking to get centre halves comfortable on the ball and to get the ball into good areas early so that we don't concede possession cheaply. We're not the sort of side that tries to play long balls forward all the time unless it's absolutely necessary. And I like to think we play a style of football that people would enjoy watching but is also effective.
You must be so pleased to get back on the grass with the players as well, having, knowing that it's safe to do so.
Oh yeah, it's to get the group together. Again, the new players have mixed in with the existing squad incredibly well. We've been quite careful, not just about the experience and the technical ability they bring to the side, but also the sort of personalities and character that they bring, because we want people who bounce off each other, have a shared vision and direction, and will help each other in trying to achieve that. So, one of the messages we've been giving to the players is, sometimes you're going to have to put personal disappointment to one side and make sure you get behind the rest of the squad and the starting 11 on that day. But be prepared, because it could be you that's out there next time and you want exactly the same support back, because we're all in this together. I think it's developing that whole team ethos and team spirit where people are supporting one another that we're actually all about.
You must be so pleased, as you say, with the signings that you've brought in and how well established now the team is becoming.
Yes, I think so. I mean, the fact that we've been able to attract these players is credit to the club and credit to the players of last season. I think if the players hadn't performed as well as they did last season, it would have been far more difficult to recruit players of this sort of quality and add strength to our squad.
What's it like to kind of attract players, if you like? Because I know, obviously, from your previous roles, you've worked with other players before, and it must be really nice to kind of bring those into the team that you're working with now.
Yeah, it is. Kaz Bisson is a good example of that. This is the third time I've signed Kaz. Kaz, I first discovered when she was about 20 or 21. I won't embarrass her by saying how old she is now, but she's a proven goal scorer at regional and national league level over a number of years. She travelled with me to play at AFC Wimbledon and was a very strong player there for a number of seasons, as indeed was Jordan Hursley-Atkins, who's the midfielder that we brought in from Wimbledon, another player that I think buys into the sort of style and philosophy that I have, but she's also a quality player that just brings another different aspect to our performances, particularly in the middle third of the pitch. But it wouldn't be fair to just talk about those two, because we've got players of the quality of Steph Mobbs, who anyone that lives in and around the Oxford area will know incredibly well, but she's played at Women's Super League level, probably the most composed player on the pitch every week. Calmness personified, technically very, very capable as well. And we brought Sian Miley-Phillips in, who's another new addition from Oxford United and Oxford City. Nicole Mars just signed from Oxford City. We brought in Ray Roberts, who's come to us from Denham United, along with Charlotte Parrott from Denham United. And we brought in Natalie Morris as a goalkeeping coach from Oxford City very recently as well. So another acquisition to complement our coaching team.
It's obviously really nice to bring in new signings, but you must be so pleased as well to have retained such a large number of the squad who were there originally as well.
Yeah, absolutely, because, a lot of those players have been on a bit of a journey. They've come from Southern Region Div 1. They established themselves very well in the Premier Division last season. And, they deserve another crack at it this season to see if, allied to the players that we brought in, we can make a really good push for promotion. And there's no doubt that some of the players that I inherited will be quite capable of making that step up should we achieve it.
How have the pre-season preparations been this season? Obviously, with the COVID restrictions as well, has that been quite a cautious approach? But although I imagine they're all really pleased to get going.
We've had a few games, and they have been a little cautious. Obviously, clearly, we've had to follow all of the COVID guidance around tracking and tracing. That's been a new experience for all of us. But so far, it's been adhered to by all the clubs that we've come into contact with, and we have reciprocated that. But, I think once the players on the football pitch, not a lot changes, to be quite honest with you. It was almost business as usual from the first pre-season game, which we played over at Sutton United, ladies. And, we've carried that through into the competitive football we've ended up playing, which was the Women's FA Cup. Very pleased to have got through the first 2 rounds, the latest of which was on Sunday just gone. And we're looking forward to the next one, which is on October the 4th. Following that, we've got our first league game, which is against Abingdon United, who we ended up playing 4 times last season, despite having a curtailed league.
You must feel so positive and full of anticipation, if you like, with the new league season just about to start and what can be achieved with the team that you've got.
Yes, I like to think so. I look at what we've got defensively. I look at what we've got in the middle third. I look at the players that we've brought in who can play up top. And all round, it's a stronger squad than we had last season in total. We've just got to see those results appearing on the pitch now. But the players are clicked pretty quickly, I believe. And that showed in performance on Sunday, despite the fact we only won the game 2-1. We rattled the woodwork 8 times in the game. And with a little bit more care in front of goal from strikers and midfield players, I have to say, we should have been out of sight by half-time by 6 or 7, to be honest. It was that one-sided. But you cannot take anything for granted. As we found out, we made one mistake and we got punished. And that allowed Eversley back into the game. But again, there's just so much quality in the side to create opportunities that, again, we forced a penalty and we converted it. But then we proceeded to hit the woodwork, I think it was twice after that, when probably we should have done slightly better. But it was just one of those days on the pitch which was incredibly frustrating. But equally, we've got the result which we were looking for and dominated the game.
Many thanks to Dave Ward from Wycombe Wanderers ladies for speaking to us on the Wycombe Wanderers Show. Now, earlier today, I went up to the Wycombe Wanderers training ground and spoke to Gareth Ainsworth ahead of the game against Swansea City. Started off by saying to him, what do you say to a team after a 5-0 defeat?
You can't be too hasty after the game in the dressing room, there's obviously mistakes that happen, but in the whole player things, you've got to have a look at it yourself. You've got... as a staff, we wanted to look at the video and assess ourselves first, see if we got anything wholly wrong. But we've gone through it this week. We know what went wrong in certain areas. Obviously with the 10 men, it's difficult then to judge after that. But the first half, it's crazy to say, but we didn't do too bad. Three goals. Blackburn only had 3 shots on target in that first half, and they scored all 3. There was no peppering of our goal. And it felt like that after the second half, because obviously 10 men and they really did play the ball about. But the damage was all done in that first half, and we've had a look at it, and it's definitely stoppable. I think we should have come in at 1-0 down, not 3-0 down, and it would have changed the game, the dynamics of the game. But these things are going to happen. If you give teams chances at this level, they're going to take them more than they will in Leagues 1 and Leagues 2, and we're finding that out. I've said give me time to assess this league and have a look, how it's going to pan out, and I'm learning quick from every game. I thought, again, Rotherham, we were well worth the win. Blackburn, we were well worth the defeat, and that's going to happen. We came up 4 games like this, and it's going to be tough. But I firmly believe we've got enough to start putting some points on the board, and I want to try and start that on Saturday.
And I think for those of us who watched the 3 games so far, Brentford, Rotherham and Blackburn, actually there were spells where Wycombe were playing really well. Yeah,
Tony Mowbray said to me after the game, he said after 15 minutes they were really worried. He said they thought it was going to be a long afternoon, and I did as well. I thought we started fantastically well, but it doesn't happen always like that in football, and you've got to take your chances when they come, and especially at this level. Like I say, we've got to start hitting the target. I want to get that first goal in the Championship. as you say, Brentford and Rotherham, 2 good performances there as well. So plenty to build on. Just hopefully getting a couple of injuries back. Midfield's been very bare, especially with Dominic missing with suspension and Curtis out. So that has been an issue. But we're trying to rectify that with either signings or getting players fit. The big man, I think, will make a difference. Uchi hasn't got going yet. I think not training since February has been a big thing for him, and we need to get him up to speed quick, but he's going to be a hell of a player for us. And obviously Ryan will probably get his chance now. Darius is carrying a suspension, so plenty of changes, but looking forward to seeing what we can do on Saturday. It's an early kick-off, like the Brentford one, and we did okay there, so I'm hoping we can do a good performance on TV, and I say I'm sure I'll still be learning after that game and for every game so far, but 42 to go, is it? And 44 to go. And looking forward to seeing what we can do. And my aim is to be a championship team next year.
Swansea had a great run into the playoffs last season, which obviously didn't quite work out for them. They're another big team. I know we're going to say that a lot. They've got a manager now who seems to be taking them in the right direction after their relegation a couple of seasons ago.
Steve Kirk, we've got a really good manager. These people come across and people don't know who they are, and there's all sorts of worries about them, but believe me, he's a top manager, and the way he's got his side playing is really good. As you say, there's probably going to be... There'll be a couple of players on as much as my entire squad in the Swansea team, and that's where we are. The differences in the levels are because the physicalities and the athleticism of the boys, as well as being technical and tactical, fantastic. We've got to match this. We've got to step up. We can't give the ball away. Steve's done a brilliant job. We watched him. I use a big threat, a good player, and he's just one of many that they'll have. I'm really looking forward to playing one of the teams that were in the playoffs, and seeing how we fare against them, because I do believe Blackburn's probably one of our low points, but I want to make sure that we're solid. We take our chances if they come, and we really do put on a good show for the TV, because it's nice to have these TV games. We've got Watford coming up as well after this, so it's going to be all everyone hands to the pump, everyone getting fit, everyone making sure their bodies are tip-top condition for this season, because that's what it's going to take.
Must have been a disappointment this week to learn that fans probably won't be in the stadium for the majority of the season. Can you understand what's going on, particularly when fans can go into pubs and watch it, and yet they can't be sitting at Adams Park and watching the game?
I can't understand, but I don't think many people can, but I also wouldn't want to be at the top making all the decisions, for the country. So, listen, my stance in life is don't try and go against everything. Ride the wave, get on top of the wave, and try and enjoy as much as you can. I'm devastated for the fans. Really, I'm devastated, because these fans deserve to see Championship football. While some of them have waited so long to do that, and it's only on the TV. As I said earlier, I'm pretty sure I'd have got a bit of stick from them at Blackburn, but I'd rather get stick and the fans be there than the fans not be there. We need them. It's not the same game without fans, and I am, as you are well known, very extrovertish, and I love the fans being there. I love playing up to the fans. I love all the support we get, and I love the team when the fans get behind them. So absolutely gutted with that decision, but again, we're fortunate to be in this position. I feel very lucky every day when I wake up, and Wycombe is secure at the moment because of what these boys and Rob Courig have done. Can't thank them enough. Really pleased to be leading the ship, and hopefully we can get some points on Saturday.
Today, 133 years ago, Wycombe Wanderers played their very first match. That is a lot of history for a football club, but do you appreciate just how big a part you play in that history?
Tiny part. There's been a lot of history.
I definitely disagree with tiny part.
Yeah, there's been a lot of history, and a lot of really, really fantastic people contributed to this club. Sometimes I wake up and I pinch myself, because I'm, like I say, I feel lucky. I work my socks off, of course I do, and I always have done, whether it's been a player or as a manager, and I'll continue to do that. But there's a lot of unsung heroes here as well, and to have my name on the promotion to the Championship and all that, it's brilliant. But believe me, I'll be the first to say I couldn't have done it without everyone else. So everyone who's contributed in that 133 years, thank you. Stick with us, keep supporting us. I'll give absolutely everything for this club, and I'm hoping for the fans more than anything we can stay in the Championship, because they might be allowed in a year's time, who knows, and that would be fantastic. But No, thanks for all your support, everyone, and what a fantastic football club.
I promise we'll stick with you. Cheers, Gareth. Cheers. That was Gareth Ainsworth speaking to me earlier on. I also spoke to Alex Samuel while I was up at the training ground and said that despite the results, so far, the performances actually have been quite good.
We take a lot of positives. Rotherham, I think we should have won that game. So we were very unfortunate not to take a result. And also Blackburn, I think, that we started really well. I think the way we put our shape out was good. And it was just sloppy mistakes, really. And I think it's something that we're going to have to learn quickly and adapt to this league because, teams are going to have that quality now. So it's exciting as well because we're in a new league. We're all learning. I think 80% of this team haven't played at this level. So it's going to take a little time just to find our feet. But I'm sure that, we're going to get there and we're going to do well.
Daryl Horgan has come in from Hibs. So what's the competition for places like? That's presumably a good thing.
Yeah, really good. We're going to need everyone this season, especially with the amount of Saturday, Tuesday games that's going to be coming up, I think, in October, November. So, yeah, Daryl you can tell, is a player that, is so technically good and something that we've needed in that forward play, creating and, creating new things. And so, yeah, he's a player that we're excited to see, and I think already we can see the quality that he's got going forward, and, yeah, it's a really massive asset for us.
So, Swansea are the visitors. You were obviously born in Neath. Did you ever get to the Vetch Field?
Yeah, I got to the Vetch Field a few times. I was mascot in the 2003, one of the Swansea's biggest in the club's history games. They could have been relegated out of the Football League, so to be a part of that as well at that time was amazing. Some very fond memories there. And even growing up, I've got a huge heart for Swansea, very fond memories there. So yeah, just love the club.
Great to hear from Alex Samuel, and you never know, you might see him in a supermarket soon as well.
You might do, indeed. That is it from the Wycombe Wanderers Show for this week. You can download, you can listen again, and Colin and I will be back at 8 o'clock next week.